Mr. Chairman.
Tax rate. Tax rate.
Okay, it's 9:30. It's Monday, March 4th. I'm going to call the special meeting of the Board of Equalization to order. First up will be a roll call. Vice Chair Brett Town.
Present.
Member Teresa Sellers.
Present.
And I'm the Chair, Eleanor Thompson. Just a little procedure here. Nobody has to leave. Everybody can stay and watch the other person. When you come up, you'll sit and tell us what it is you want us to know, and then we'll hear from the assessor. You get the last word. Then we meet on Wednesday of this week for decisions. We don't make a decision today. And then your decision will be mailed to you, so you'll get it. However, the mail crawls or gets there, so you'll get it Thursday, Friday. Surely by Friday you will get it. Anything you did not present to the assessor, you should not try to present it to us. We are an appellate board, so we are reviewing the correctness of what the assessor did. Miss anything? Okay. So we'll go in order, and the first person is going to be.
We have to approve minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No minutes for that.
There's no minutes, okay.
No minutes.
Okay. So item 1 is going to be BOE. Our number 2, Mr. Richard Lloyd, resident number R127271-070. Is he here?
Yes.
I'm right here.
Okay, come forward.
Thank you.
Sure. You get to go first.
Are we good for the minutes or whatever you need to do?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, actually, I guess I'll have a brief introduction. If you humor me, at least on the front end, it'll probably all make more sense.
Sure.
I think first order of business from your comments earlier, I was an Air Force officer. I spent a lot of time in Wichita, Kansas, and
Yes.
I have to say, go Chiefs.
All right. How about them? And go Shockers.
And Mr. Lloyd, you were here last year, weren't you?
No,
Okay.
no, I actually moved about a year ago, something like that. So I actually, my story is actually a little bit of a country song. And that over the summer, when I bought the house, my pool was losing about 1,000 gallons of water per day.
Ooh.
So I was waiting out through the summer trying to figure out if my pool losing a bunch of water was evaporation or the hot August in September, or if there was something more drastic. And during the winter, I actually got somebody to come out and look at the pool, and inevitably, I have some major pool problems where my pool is leaking from the bottom. So based on that, I sold my car, true story, like a country song, trying to cover the amount, and I didn't have enough money to cover the pool repairs, which were about $45,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I went to go get a home equity loan and shopped around to come up with the money to pay for the pool repairs. And as part of that process, both of the banks that I went to, I bank at both Arvest and Tinker locally, and they both required an appraisal in order to get a home equity loan of $50,000 on the house. So I had 2 gentlemen, and I come out that were appraisers that were assigned by the bank, but inevitably I paid $550 to pay for it. And they did an appraisal on the house. And it just so happens that the reason I bring up my country song with the pool, just this is the timing more than anything. So I ended up having an appraisal on the 11th of January. And essentially the appraisal that they gave me came in at $759,000. And when they did the appraisal, I had 2 guys there for over 2 hours, and I don't know if you've seen them, but they use those cool laser measurement tools. And they basically were able to come out with a laser measurement of the inside and outside dimensions of my house in the time that they were there. So I got a pretty precise measurement of the house, and the big thing is ultimately when I received in the interim from the BOE, I received my valuation report in that time frame for the timing, and it said, of course, that my house was worth over $1 million and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I know, and their measurements that they had for the records of the house were off by more than 1,000 square feet.
Now, they say 4272. I did not see in your report, what is it you say? You say
No,
it's
no,
off
no,
by
no,
1,000.
no. My official record says 5333.
Why do I have?
Because I asked them to change it when I, as soon as I got the report, I shared it with them.
Okay,
Yeah, so that was not what was on the initial report.
but they accepted it.
Well, I assume they have sent it, but that doesn't cover, of course, the other years that I overpaid as well, right?
Okay, that's the first thing I want to ask you.
Yeah.
What year did you purchase this?
It would have been about 2.5 years ago. I don't have it in front of me. I bought the house for $627,000. So, I mean, obviously, that was a relatively major error in the valuation of the house, right?
Well, I see that they started out at 882 and dropped
No.
to 804.
No,
No,
they didn't start at 882.
why do I say they did?
No, that's what,
Was that last year?
no,
No.
we dropped the value to 882. We originally had it at 1,065,000.
That's what I got.
This was after the result of lowering the square footage based on the appraisal that was provided.
It's down to 882. What is this 804 I have down here? Do you know why I wrote that down? Anybody else write down 804,200? Is that the,
I don't think so.
okay, so, but you want to stick with the 759?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what I'm asking. And the reason for that is I mean, ultimately, I respect that from the Board of Equalization, that from the assessor's office, that they have a huge wave and large number of properties that they have to deal with. But I'm really struggling from my perspective, where I have a bank-provided appraisal that I paid for, that I had a large amount of time invested in from the appraisers, and they were independent appraisers, ultimately came up with a valuation. And that evaluation was based upon the 9 sold comps, not estimates, in my neighborhood, and that ultimately came up with the valuation where my previous hearing that I had from the assessor's office was as I was in Arvest Bank waiting to do a transaction, and I talked to the person less than 2 minutes. So I guess the question I have is that, and I guess maybe I'll wait till the end, I'll wait till the end and ask. But anyway, that's my essential premise is the timing worked out where the square footage was way, 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 way off. I've overpaid for years now. And now ultimately they're asking me to trust their valuation over an independent appraisal that I have in hand.
Okay, so you do know, and listen up for everybody else that's in here. We are worried about, or not worried, we are considering December 31st, 2023 valuation. You've got an appraisal effectively. I know it's not that far after January 1st.
Like they were on the 5th, the first working day.
So you sought this appraisal before
Yes.
January 1st?
Yeah.
And the appraisal was $759,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Which, can you tell me what year you bought this house?
Yes, I got April 22 of 22 from a public auction.
April 20, okay, so April of 22 purchase for 627.
Public auction, not sheriff's auction.
No, it was a sheriff's auction.
Sure.
Was this where you got the 800 for?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, the 800 was based on the building value.
Okay, all right, you'll get the last word, but now
Thank
we
you.
hear from the assessor.
So yeah, it was deemed to be an invalid transaction because it was a sheriff's sale. He did provide an appraisal, which we did look at that, and we were deemed to be off on the square footage, so it was a legit appraisal. So we lowered the square footage, which there was a difference altogether of 1,061 square feet off, so we did correct it. And then we ran our values, and we came up with $882,000 based on the comps in his area, plus the two two of the comps in the appraisal. There's one comp we could not use, which was 2055 Arbor Valley Drive. That's in Logan County.
Oh.
So we can't use a Logan County comp. But yeah, we support our current value based on the comps that were ran after the square footage was adjusted, and that's why we're at 882,000. And we did make his value last year was 960,000 after the initial informal appeal. It was originally 1,009,000. But based on the square footage, changing the square footage earlier this year, we did a tax roll correction for him and lowered the value for 23 down to 889,000. And then, like I said, this year we now have him at 882,000 based on the comps that were provided on our end, mixed in with the two comps from his appraisal.
Can you give me my mile sections?
Yes. Sorghum Mill and Western.
So how many mile sections north of Sorghum Mill is the county line road?
Waterloo, right?
Waterloo Road, so
Just
right
one-
here.
One more.
1 mile.
That's why your people picked up comp in a non.
Oh, yeah, no, but I mean, I didn't, it was an independent appraisal, I didn't.
No.
Yeah. I had no idea until they gave me the report.
Sure.
I know we had one in the same neighborhood, about the same size, Air Force officer.
Yeah.
On the
Yes, last
West
year.
Coast, so that's why I'm a little, it was running together, because they also had a horse barn and a little lake or two, so.
Yeah, what's the size of the lot? Just an acreage?
2.99 or something like that.
2.9.
There was, I mean, the only recent comp was on Western and Sorghum Mill. That house sold in October for $745, and it's 7 acres.
Well, they make adjustments.
I know.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
I used to drive by it all the time.
No, other than like you hinted at that we did make those adjustments, and based on that 23,400 Northwestern Avenue sold for $745 in October of 23. We got a sale adjusted value with all the adjustments in time for $862,261. We use our 6 comps. We come up with the new number of 882,
Bet you got any.
which puts you at $206.46 a square foot.
Are those comps attached?
Yes.
Okay,
And then are you wanting, and here's the second page of the other, we have 6 total comps.
yeah. And because I'm new here, can I just clarify, are you using the sales price or are you
No.
using the one down the bottom, the adjusted price?
They adjust it.
Yeah, we
They
usually
estimate.
So
adjust
you're
it
using
that.
the one at the bottom,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
They don't use actual
Okay,
sales.
that's what I thought, I just
Yeah.
wanted to confirm.
Well, if they're not identical, if you've got a neighborhood and everybody is on 2.5 acres, and there's no more than 150 differential in square footage, that's how you could probably get to maybe no adjustments.
Yeah, but
When houses don't move,
all I would say though is that the appraisal estimate
sure.
differences used don't match up with these guys at all, even for the same comp houses.
So you haven't fixed your pool yet, have you?
No, I haven't got the loan.
I know this. I know.
Mike, you said yours was $206 a
Square
square foot.
foot.
882 divided by 5,333.
No, that's the previous square footage.
Oh,
The new square
Yeah, they were off 1,000 square feet.
It's
Okay.
4270.
4272.
Yeah.
That's
So
what-
Mike, I'm sorry, the comps that you have up here then, you said you replaced one of them, right, with one of his?
No,
Or
just
does that
didn't
reflect that?
Well, no, we did. We included the 2 of his plus 4 others
Okay.
that we found and combined to make a.
But that's what you have represented?
Yes, ma'am.
So what'd you come up with for the square foot, per square foot?
165 and 142 for the taxpayer.
Oh, that's a big difference. 142 versus what now?
165.
Okay.
Tell me if I'm wrong, guys.
No, that's not.
759.
Bring it, yeah. Okay.
533.
Okay.
So you want the 759 divided by the square footage? I get 177.6.
So I guess I'm off on the square footage. Is it 5?
No, that's a previous square footage.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
And we're
Thank
gonna
you.
do
Yeah, I got the 206
Okay,
based off of the 4270 square foot.
4270. All right, I'm good then.
6. What a big difference. Okay, you get the final word.
Okay, so I mean, again, I respect the assessor's office and the huge wave and task that they have. But, you know, I think for me, it comes down to credibility and that, I mean, from the appraiser that I had that's licensed in the state of Oklahoma with the requisite number of hours, I had 2 assessors on site for 2 hours, and ultimately my interaction with the assessor's office was 2-minute phone call. And so fundamentally, are you going to believe the independent assessor that spent all of the time researching, appraiser, thank you, that worked at my house, that charged $550, that the bank believes? Or are you going to believe the assessor's office that was off more than 1,000 square feet on my house and made me overpay taxes for 2 years, which has not been fixed yet?
Well, you get, now we don't deal with, we deal with fair market value.
I understand.
Okay.
But I'm talking credibility. Are you going to give the keys to the teenager that crashes the car?
And you know, you got nothing for your tax dollars. I understand that services for Oklahoma County are just horrible. No roads, no water, no nothing. Yes.
I do want to state that we did not know what the correct square footage was. A lot of the times that these properties are, if we can't gain access to a property, sometimes we have to estimate the best to our abilities if there is no access. And this home has been around for years, so we don't have. Sometimes, like I said, we have to estimate and move on if we don't have access. So there are times where we could be off. So we do rely on the homeowner to take the initiative to give us the correct information. Last year, there was no appraisal. So this year, he did provide the appraisal, and we went ahead and corrected it accordingly, and the value did change on it. And he put on here that he did not receive an informal hearing. Well, you did receive an informal hearing.
I
That's what
received a 2-minute phone call.
Well, you were given the information, the final information, but you had to fill out a form,
I did fill out the form.
which is an informal appeal. So since you fill out the form, that does count as a hearing. Whether the conversation takes 30 minutes or 2 minutes, you were notified of the results.
Can I ask a question? This has a detached horse barn, right? Correct? Stalls.
It does.
Could that have been one of the reasons of the original square footage
No.
error? So,
No.
okay.
I don't believe so. But that's it.
No, I'm good. I mean, again, I respect the assessor's office and
Sure.
the huge task, but I mean, off by 1,000 square feet is a lot.
Alrighty,
Thank you.
we're gonna close the hearing on BOE number 2 and proceed to BOE number 13. I'm sorry, BOE number 12. James Guzek.
That would be me.
That would be I. That would be I.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. And you would think I would know that, being a former professor. Well, thank you, board. I appreciate the opportunity to come visit you.
Sure.
Ms. Sellers, I know last Thursday was kind of weird on the weather. I was listening to you a second ago. My wife has a video of it raining, sleeting, and snowing at the same time. So, it was kind of wild. That's Oklahoma standard, right? But I, again, appreciate the time to come and visit with you guys. My situation is that I had my initial meeting with Kyran a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was pretty productive. We had some common ground with respect to my situation. Rose Lake is a small neighborhood, about 100 homes. It's sandwiched between the Grove on the north side and Rose Creek on the south side. But we have some rather compelling issues that limit our market value or really create headwinds for us in our market value. We have a major gas line that runs through the neighborhood, right through the middle. My house happens to be about 70 feet from that gas line. We are a private neighborhood with gates, so we have our own streets that we maintain. That's problematic because anyone that wants to come in and buy the house, if we offered it for sale, they would know that assessments on streets would be forthcoming. We have a high percentage of renters in our neighborhood, about 52% on my side, the west side. You can see in this diagram, the main entranceway is just to the northeast of my property. And of course, there's a lot of traffic that comes through there, so there's noise. But 52% of the homes on the west side there are all rentals, which creates issues for traffic, noise, property maintenance, and that sort of thing that create difficulties for me in establishing, property value. Now, the other thing that is unique about our neighborhood is that we don't have any sort of pool or any sort of clubhouse. And so the other neighborhoods around us, while they have that, we don't. And that creates headwinds for us as far as property values. Now, one of the things I brought to Kyran's attention are these unique challenges that we have in our neighborhood. And he agreed, not to speak for him, but I think we found common ground that, we should probably look at just those local comps that are in our neighborhood that might be more appropriate than reaching out and looking at comps in close proximity in other neighborhoods. So I was very pleased that we agreed that we should keep comps within the neighborhood, and the ones that he evaluated were in fact within the neighborhood and were also similar floor plans, 2-story houses to mine. So where we left it was that I had looked at those comps and had determined that the market value of my home should be around $371. Kyran suggested that, well, because some of these comps had occurred over the course of past years, mostly in 2022, that there's a time value that should be assigned to the property. And in fact, after looking at those comps that he came up with, which was the first time I'd had a chance to really evaluate them, I had to agree. And what I had done in the interim is a little bit of homework. Kyran was saying he didn't like homework. I don't either. But I wanted to try and evaluate the comps that he gave me and see if I might be able to make some sense of the time value that might be added to my property that would make sense. And so the 6 comps that he presented to me at that time, and again, that was the first time I'd had a chance to look at them. I looked at 2 comps, and in fact, we had an initial phone call, I guess a week before, right, Kyran, that we touched base. And he said, well, what comps are you looking at? I gave him 2 that were relatively recent, one in December of 2022 and one in June of 2023, which were both 2-story houses, very similar in floor plan to mine. When I got there, he had presented 6 that came back a little bit further in time. And I wanted to have a chance to look at those. Now, I know I can't present any new evidence. So what I have is an evaluation of evidence that has already been looked at in my meeting with Kyran. And what I was hoping to do is establish a time value for the property in terms of what the additional cost might be based on the fact that some of these comps have been done in prior months. So in looking at the 6 comps that he gave me, the average increase per month was 0.39%. These were the ones that were closing in June of 2023, December of 2022, June of 2022, May of 2022, January 22, and March of 22. So we all know that the market has been relatively thin here this last year because of higher interest rates. So we haven't really had much traffic in terms of closures in my neighborhood. So I'm really looking at the ones that he did, most of which were done in 2022. So if I take that 0.39 per month average increase of these 6 comps, and I've got a spreadsheet here in case anyone wants to look at this. If we start at the agreed upon 138.09, which was the average of the price per square feet of all of these comps, and that's simple mathematics. If I just take the sale price and divide it by the square foot of all of these properties, the average square foot cost is 138.09. And I multiply that times 2636, which is my square footage on my home, I would come out to $364,000. Now, I agree with Karen that that is probably not an accurate valuation because it doesn't include the time value of money, right? So we've got an increase that occurs over time based on the fact that the market generally will move upwards. And so if I take that average increase of 0.39% per month based on the valuations that Karen had for these 6 comparable sales and multiply it times 12 months, I get an average of $381,000 that my valuation should be. That should be the market. Now, where we differ, I think, is that in the comps, I'm looking up here, which includes the time value. You have issues related to the features of the home that have to be adjusted based on things like, garage size and yard size. And in this case, probably the most impactful thing is the lake. I happen to live on a body of water. I wouldn't call it a lake, it's more like a pond. And it's not really a useful body of water except to look at because you can't sail on it, you can't do anything on it, you can't swim in it. You wouldn't want to swim in it.
Is it a drainage?
Yes, it is. It's part of the Oklahoma County Water Control Program, I guess. But what concerned me was that there are adjustments that are made on top of the time value process based on features, of which the most impactful is the lake. And I can see that 3.51% is basically added to the property based on the lake situation. Now, what I would like to submit is information that was presented to you guys, or to Kyran earlier in my session with him, and that is that I have taken the Zillow current valuations, current market valuations, and if I heard you right, Ms. Thompson, we're looking at market value here, one established market value. These are Zillow valuations of those properties next to me on the lake. Okay? And they have my property listed as $371,000, which was the original valuation that I thought was reasonable. But you can see that the property next to me is not a 2-story, but these next 3 properties are all fairly identical to mine. Square footage, plus or minus a bit, but they're all laid out pretty much the same. And the valuations are respectively 352, 376, and 377, which all reflect current market value. This is a current valuation.
Were they all built at the same time?
They were not all built at the same time, but they were built approximately within 3-4 years of each other. So it is a subdivision that was built out, and we purchased probably toward the end of that build out in 2009. So if we look at those comps that Kyran presented to me and adjust for the time value, based on my square footage, I'm looking at 381. That should be a reasonable valuation. I'm right now at 409.5. And that is borne out in the market value of these Zillow estimates that suggest that the adjustments for features, including the lake, have really already been built into the market pricing of the homes that I'm looking at that are right next to me. So instead of not just looking at just the comps, but also at homes that are almost identical to mine,
Sure.
it does seem that I'm overpriced based on.
Did you complain last year?
No, ma'am, I
Your
did not.
contest?
No.
And do you agree with me that last year the valuation was 392.5?
That's the records I have, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so there's just a difference of
4%.
Right,
Yes.
but you want a reduction.
I'm looking for that
From
based on
last
market value.
Sure.
And again, this is
No,
where,
I'm just saying, yeah.
yep, I suppose that, the 4% sounds reasonable, and I would agree it is. I know we can't go back and look back to the 392 and say, well, maybe that was too high.
Right.
But if we're trying to establish market value, the market does matter,
1231,
and this does appear to be the market.
sure.
So I'm petitioning for a 381,000 valuation.
Okay. You can take this one.
Yep.
Okay. Just wait for you.
Alright. This property is 3524 Northwest 176th Street. Your major streets here are West Edmond Road and North Portland Avenue. The subject property is 2,636 square feet, and it's 14 years old. And with the current value of $409,500, it gives you a price per square foot of $155.35. I ran two different comp reports. Both are 6 comp reports. The one that you have is the one that I ran. That is all 22 sales. And that one actually supported a higher value of $413,972. If I use the 2 comps that I was provided, which was 123 sale and then 122 sale, which was already used. But anyway, if I use those 2 that were provided and 4 of my own sales, it supports an even higher value of $423,215. So that is why I went with my comps, because it actually, either way you go about it, it does support our value of the $409,500. But the reason I just gave you the 22 ones was it was lower than what I was given. Oh, and I forgot to mention, he bought this property in 2009 for $255,500. And yeah, that's all I have.
Well, when we do these, and there's no question that the property had issue, not his, but when we do them and they are rentals, he just said there are a good number of rentals. Did you know that, and did you take that into consideration?
Yeah, he provided that in the initial. He actually came in person. His wasn't over the phone, so we actually got to meet for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was taken into consideration. However, based on the sales that have happened,
Sure.
Even with the issues of that were brought up, the roads and the pipeline. The sales weren't really saying it is affecting values based on what we ran. So that's why we're sticking with the $409,500.
You guys gonna stay private and not open up and let the
You
city
know,
and the county?
I used to be the HOA president, and there are some real constraints with respect to opening the streets up for the city. The streets have to be in pristine condition to be
Before
able
you do
to
it.
make that handoff. And
You have to
it's,
bond them too.
yes, that's right. So you have some challenges, and it's expensive to be able to completely redo the streets, as you can imagine.
Sure.
So it would take an assessment. I don't think there's a real groundswell of support for that, simply because of the cost and the administrative headache. I know that when we went to see the streets department and did an HOA training session that they sponsored, they made it sound pretty onerous. And not only that, but I don't think that any subdivisions, at least when I took the training, they said no subdivisions that actually qualify for that. So no, I don't think that's in the offing. So again, we're going to have to deal with the continued issues of street maintenance, which is an expense and a challenge for us on property values too. But to Kyran's point, the assessment that he has is based on a features adjustment on the bottom half of the assessment sheet. And my contention is that those features have already been built into the market value of these homes. The market value takes into account the features and benefits of any home, the positives and negatives. When somebody comes in to buy, they're looking at things like, 3-car garage, 2-car garage, on a lake, not on a lake. So I think these things are already built into the pricing that's there. He and I both agree that the top line evaluation, based on the market value over time, is the same. He and I are in agreement with top line. It's the bottom line, I think, that we're looking at.
He keeps talking about Zillow. I know how you guys feel about Zillow. So, but you took some of his comps, right?
Yeah, the two comps that we originally talked about on the phone,
Yes.
those are included in a report, which that wasn't even, when I added those two plus 4 other ones to make a 6 comp report, it was even higher than what was provided to you guys.
Can you show me where in the package those comps are listed? Because I'm still struggling. I've done the math, but I don't come up with what you've got.
The ducklings. Yeah. So these 6 are all 2022, and then it wasn't provided. It's in our prognos, what we use to run comps. But that other one has the 2 comps provided and the 4 other ones.
It's not in the documentation provided to us.
Yes.
Yes, it's not, or yes, it is.
It's not. The one that has his 23 cell in it is not in the packet that you guys have. The reason I supported the Sport 13 that has all 5 or 6 in 2022 is because this one supports a lower value than what his would have brought in. If I used his 2 plus 4, it was even higher than what
Bring
these
it up,
comps.
yeah, but I don't see that in the package. All that I'm seeing
He's
is
gonna pull it.
comps.
He's gonna pull it up right now.
Probably what's on the website, right? They're all 2022.
Yeah.
I don't
He's
see
gonna-
any 2023 comps, but I'm coming out much lower than what you're saying.
The second one right there.
Okay. I don't know if I can introduce this to you guys because it technically is a new document, but this is more just an evaluation of the 6 comps that Kyron and I talked about.
We can't, but I will ask this. Do you disagree with him that when he accepted your 2, that the valuation would have been higher?
Only insofar as the time value would increase. The comps didn't support any more than 371 that I saw, but because some of the comps were 2022 and we had only the one in 2023, I'm willing to concede that over time, the valuation has to increase. If we look at those 6 comps, the average increase per month is 0.39%. So I'm simply taking the average of the comps, multiplying on a square footage basis, price per square foot, multiplying it times my square footage, 2636. That supported a $364,000 assessment. Adding the time value of money on the 0.39 per month brings it up to 381. My original petition was for 371. So I concede that that probably is not realistic based on the time value of money. So I'm thinking a proper valuation should be more like 381. And again, that seems to be supported by Zillow Valuations in houses next month.
Does the assessor's office agree with the 0.39 a month as far as time value increase?
I would have to get with our sales analyst.
Because that is like over a 24-month period, that's only a 9.36% increase. And over a 36-month, that's 14. And we know county averages as far as increases are at least double that amount.
I'm just looking at the information
Sure.
that is coming from Kyran and the assessor's office.
I'm struggling with the truthfulness of that. Now, I'm not calling you a liar. Then how do you account for the difference? If you agree that his using your 2 plus his 4 renders a higher valuation, then how can you say It is not making
Well,
sense.
where I think the confusion lies is Kyran and I are in agreement at the top part of the assessor's
Yes.
comprehensive
You
analysis.
disagree with the time adjustment.
No, I don't disagree with the time adjustment. We are in agreement, I think, with the time adjustment.
Okay.
Where I don't agree is in the features and benefits adjustments on the bottom of the page.
Okay.
The most important of which, the most impactful, would be the lake.
The lake.
And this suggests that that is perhaps over-evaluated or overpriced based on
And
that
this
analysis.
meaning Zillow.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
I did want to say that this is that comp report that has the 2023 sale.
But I don't see it in the package.
Yeah, I guess give that to y'all. But again, the reason I did it to put it with that stuff is because it was higher than what I was coming in at.
So
So
I appreciate that, Kyron. I don't want to go up on that.
It's okay, but from our perspective, this is an important document for us to have in our packet.
Yeah, because I ran my numbers off of what was in the package, and I'm coming out with a much lower number, quite frankly. And so I'm having a difficult time seeing your number without this document.
Would you like us to provide that for you?
How much lower? Way lower?
Yeah.
What, lower than his?
Lower than he's even asking, because when I'm looking at the 2022 comps, that's the only thing that was provided.
Well, I would have to say, I believe 381 is fair. It seems like that's very close to market value, and if we're trying to achieve market value, that's, I think, a reasonable figure. I can leave this with you.
The only problem I have with that is if you need to explain to me how you would arrive at an $11,000 figure less than what last year's valuation was.
We can only look at what the market is today. I understand that. That's really what we're trying to achieve, what market value is today, right? So I
Well,
cannot.
1231.
Well, sure.
Sure.
I'm looking at February, basically, because that's when my meeting was with Kyran.
We don't do February. We're doing we're doing as of 1231.
Okay.
And I realize that people are looking today at the fact that angry that the Fed won't lower the rates. But we still have to stick with the time frame of 1231.
Sure.
Which I think has more of an impact higher than where you want to get us to, as we're now in March.
Well, not really, because I
No.
added 2 months additional then, if I may correct myself here then. So if we take this 0.39 valuation per month,
And and his 0.39 doesn't get us to where the average in the county has been.
I can tell you, Eleanor, there was a pretty significant jump from 2022 to 2023, from 318 to 392. That might be accounting for some.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did see. I do have that 318 for 22, 392.5 for 23, and then not that much of a jump to 24.
yeah, and I was gonna mention that because I know we can't
Go backwards.
And-
Right, but it does
yes.
explain why it's where it is.
Yes, Ms. Salter.
Okay. Okay, I'm good. Okay, we're gonna close this out. We're gonna make our decision on Wednesday and mail it to you.
Thank you, board. I'll look forward to hearing from you. Is it helpful for me to leave my spreadsheet analysis that shows?
Well, what I would ask, are you okay with us providing the comps that you guys both seem to agree on, the document that you held up a minute ago? Are you okay with them providing that to us?
Certainly. I
We'll
am.
get that for you at the conclusion of today.
Very good, thank you.
Board, thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
your time and attention.
Oh, sure. Okay, we're gonna close BOE 12 and go to BOE 13. Scott Cravens, 39 West Shore Drive, Arcadia.
Mr. Chair, I have for him to be called.
Oh, he's the call, okay.
I have him and then Carl up next. Just give me 1 moment.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Scott Cravens.
This is Scott.
Mr. Cravens, this is
Yeah.
Ms. Thompson at the Board of Equalization. I'm sorry. Adjustment. Okay, so we're talking about your property resident number 197039030 at 39 West Shore Drive, Arcadia, correct?
Yes, ma'am. There's two actually. There's 39 and then there's 7. They're both on the same street.
We have to take them separately?
Okay, so
Okay.
39 is the first one. That's fine.
Yes. And as I understand it, you're asking for a valuation of $227,500. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the assessor has it at $375,500.
That's correct. That was after our informal protest.
Okay. And we're going to let you tell us why you think that valuation is incorrect and yours is correct. And we're going to hear from him, the assessor. And then we'll give you the final word, and then we'll mail you our decision, which we're going to make on Wednesday. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. That's fine.
Okay. So go ahead and tell us what you want us to know.
You bet. So this property was purchased. It was basically a lot, and it was
Yes.
purchased in May of 20 at a cost of $70,000. If you look, that's kind of the going rate for the lot based on the size. There was a structure on the property. It was known at the time that that structure would have to be removed. And so it was demolished and a new structure was built there. That structure, per my client, was done at a cost of $157,000. There is the structure is deceiving in that, and I think the county map shows it correct, but I don't know if they're actually classifying it right from a square footage standpoint. The bottom floor is entirely garage. There's nothing there but a garage. The second story is the living area, and it's 1,000 square feet. Is effectively the size of usable, livable square footage. So what I told the assessor was, look, we had a $70,000 lot. We fully acknowledge that we spent $157,000 under a contract with Van Hoos Construction to build the structure. I don't see how you can argue that it's worth any more than exactly what it costs to build it, given that if you look at transactions that have occurred in the intervening time period, again, on a price per square foot basis, nothing's changed. The assessor saw that differently, and that's fine, but we felt like we're bringing it to you guys to have another set of eyes look at it and give us some clarity and feedback on the matter.
So I get that you bought the lot in 20. What was the completion date of the construction?
And it wasn't completed until 21.
How early, mid, late? You know?
I know it was done. I know it was done for them to use it by that summer, so call it June, July.
Okay. So, for 2.5 years, you want no increase in the value?
I'm not saying there shouldn't be necessarily any increase. I'm looking at the comp. I don't see that there's been a real change. Again, based on the square footage, it's really hard to find true comparables because this neighborhood is a mix. I don't know how familiar with Lake Hiawassee, but it's a mix of essentially old fishing cabins. And then along the lakefront, which this property is not, there are new homes that are expensive and, sort of over the top, which are not comparable to this, both because they don't have lakefront and because this was not built anywhere near those standards of some of those properties. So what I said was, and looking at the comps, I still think it's a fair value. I certainly don't think that 375 represents an appropriate amount of appreciation over, what amounts to essentially a 2-year period.
Is this like 0.18 acre?
Yes.
Yes.
These are very tight lots.
Oh, yes. Okay. What, do you agree the valuation last year was $411,500?
That was the value this year. That was the appealed value.
A year ago.
This year.
This year.
Correct. And we're appealing that now. It wasn't brought to my attention until now.
I can speak on that.
Okay.
He sent in the appeal way before we sent out the 24 notices.
Okay.
I did explain that to him over the phone when we had our conversation.
Okay.
And I let him know that we are lower than where you were in 23.
Sure.
And so he still disagreed, so we still had the hearing.
So was I correct that it was 411, 5, and 23?
Yes, ma'am.
And this year when you sent it out, it's 375, 5?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you agree with that?
Well, I don't think that he sent it out at 375.5. I think that was the adjusted value after appeal.
Nope.
He can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my memory.
Okay, so let me say this. You cannot, there's only you have a window for an appeal. So last year, you got a valuation mailed to you sometime between January and February. And your appeal time would have been last year. You cannot this year appeal something where the appeal time from last year has passed. So you're saying.
I totally understand that. That's, as he said, that's why we jumped out and sent a letter even before the notices were sent, was because we realized where the appeal, the value had come in, and we'd already missed the protest window, so we had this calendar to make sure that we protested it for 24, which is why we sent our letter, I think, back in late January.
But you had not. So what did you receive after that from the assessor?
When I appealed it,
No,
he gave
no,
me.
whoa. No, listen
I'm sorry.
listen to my question. You said you sent a letter to protest something that had not yet been sent to you. So at some point it did get sent to you, and that's why we're in here now. We are not in here for 23. We're in here for 24. Okay, so I'm asking you, what did the assessor send to you in January of 24?
He sent us, let me see if I can find the form.
Because we got to agree on what we're in here, what you're appealing. And you're not appealing a year ago. You're appealing whatever got sent to you January of 2024. And I'm asking you what that was.
I believe it was an amount slightly above the 411 when we finally got it, or when we got it.
Okay. Okay, so your bottom line is that you want to stay as close to your original construction and purchase cost of
Well, you're right.
$227,500.
Yeah, we just want to be sure that it's in line with what is really comparable to this property in the area. And again, there may be some level of appreciation that may be appropriate. I just didn't think that 375, 411, or 375 fits the bill.
Okay, now we'll hear from the assessor.
Okay, so to clear up all of that, 23 value was 411,500. They would have got a notice for that. 24, they would not have received a notice because it went down. We only send notices out if it increases. So you would not have got a notice in the mail. And that is why I told him over the phone that we did lower you $40,000, and that's why you would not have got one. But I will still go through this if that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. So we went through, found comps. He is right. It is very difficult to find comps in here because of age. His is a new build. However, the sale that happened in 2020 was an invalid purchase of $70,000. So that purchase for land values is thrown out, period. So once we measured this again in 21, I believe it was, we measured it. We have 1,020 square feet is what we came up with. The first floor that he was asking about, we have it defined as built-in, which is not square footage. So we're only counting the second floor as square footage. Once we ran the 3-comp report, the biggest adjustment on those comps were the age. However, after that, it still supports a median value of $379,159. And those were all 23 sales. There was one sale that we did not use in the comps. That was a 23 sale. That was a new build, but I wouldn't have used it because of the adjustments. However, if we were to have used that, it was 1,900 square feet. Again, that's why we didn't use it, but it was a new build. It sold for $564,500. And if we included that with the other three that have already been provided, that's a median of $393,318. But again, we didn't use that because of the adjustments that were used.
You said the lot sale of 70,000 was invalid because,
This was
The demo.
yeah, because of the demo. Yeah.
okay, but it was a market transaction. Just had to take that building off.
Correct. Yeah, OH deemed it to be invalid because there was already further knowledge that something had to have happened to that property to go forward with it.
Right. Were there any other lot sales that you could compare, single lot sales with no structures on it or anything like that to give us a determination of what that lot value really was?
That's a tricky one to answer because the next one is a land sale.
Okay.
And I can't talk about the
Sure.
next appeal. But in the recent years, I think it was last year or a year before, we did land reval to get a better land value for this area. And that's why the land value has increased in this area. And again, that's why that 70,000, we can't use it because it was invalid, but it was also 4 years ago as well.
Right.
So I don't want to, still much of what that next appeal will be about.
Sure.
So
As I look at this and I look at the original taxpayer valuation at 227.5, and I apply the 3 years county average, just looking at it, it's not. It doesn't even come close to what we're looking at. So I'm just struggling a little on this one.
the building, so I will say this, I was not provided any documentation at all on any of this. I didn't have a figure for construction costs. I didn't have anything. I didn't even have anything to go off of. But if you're just looking at the building value itself, we're getting $224,182. The land value is what's increased. So
What are you seeing on square foot?
it's
102.
1,020.
So what's the calculation, the cost per square foot that you're seeing?
Oh, I did not write that down.
I got it. Based on this year's value, we're looking at $367.65.
Because the comps don't seem to support that. On square footage, it does on the value on the adjusted price, but not on the comps. Struggling on that a little bit. No, I don't have that one big one, I have $1 million one, but the 2023 comps that you provided.
So based on the very bottom, it actually has the sale adjusted price of the square footage at the bottom. Are you talking about just the sale price?
I ran the square footage on the 3 comps that you provided,
Raw sales or adjusted sales?
adjusted.
Because the adjusted's at the bottom. It's right in the middle of where we're at. It's actually, it would be the second lowest out of all these comps. I may not be understanding the question.
297, yeah, okay, so that's this one, so this one is included, that's per the, is that what you're saying, the 297 is, no, that's a separate comp, that's a different square footage.
Yeah, these 3 comps are the 2023 sales. I guess I'm not understanding your question.
Right, so when I calculate the square footage for those 3 and take the average, it doesn't match the square footage that you're calculating for this property. That doesn't come close.
I'm not understanding.
She took the bottom figure.
Took the bottom figure, calculated the square footage cost for each of those based off the square footage that you provided on this document. The average square footage I get for those 3 comps is $309.
Are you taking 371, 72, 291, 51, and 448, 03?
Just those three.
No, I'm taking 379, 159, 297, 336, and 456, 986. Right, I'm taking those three comps, dividing the square footage that you provided on that document for those three. Right,
Were
1,064.
you doing them separately?
Yeah, but that's not to the.
The square footage is different on each one,
Yeah, on each
right?
one. Yeah, they're not the
So-
same. So
Right, but I know, and I'm calculating out 379, dividing out the 1,064 square footage. So the square footage cost on that is $356. The square footage cost on the 297 is $245.
So that adjusted sale price, you can't take it divided by the original square footage because it's subtracted value to make it the 1020 square footage. So those bottom prices are if it would have sold with the exact same square footage as the home we're comparing it to. That's why there's these, scroll up a little bit, Ranger. So that's why this has a negative adjustment towards its square footage, because the subject property is a lower square footage. So when it does this, it's making it 1020 square footage.
Got it.
So that's where that 448 is coming from, is that total adjusted price divided by the subject price because we've done the adjustments.
Yes. Thank you. That's
You're
what I
welcome.
needed to know.
No problem.
Thanks, Chris. Sorry, it was not clicking.
That's okay. That's okay. I just needed an explanation for why.
Yeah, no, I got you. But that's all I have on this.
Okay, Mr. Craig, did you get the last word before we close out
yes, ma'am.
39?
No, I appreciate your time on it and your review, and I just wanted it looked at. We acknowledge that, we missed it, and I fully understand that we weren't reviewing the 2023 valuation. Thought they were both high, we missed it, we just wanted to appeal it, have it looked at again, with all the facts out there, and to the assessor's office credit, as you guys see, and as you heard from him, it is a very challenging area to find comps. And there's just a huge disparity of fit and finish in homes and, proximity to the water, and one side of the property is worth far, or one side of Lake Hiawassee transactions are much higher than the other. So it's just a challenging spot. We just want to make sure we're fairly assessed, and we appreciate your time.
Okay, we're gonna close BOE number 13. Did you have something?
No.
BOE number 13, and we'll open up BOE number 14 since that's yours as well. And that will be R197039520. And this one, I show, do you just want $70,000 for this one?
Is this land only?
Is this land
Correct.
owned?
Yes, ma'am.
And the assessor, went from 206 down to 151,846. So we're you like double. You got a double value going. 151
Yes,
to
ma'am.
70. Okay, tell me what you want us to know about this.
Okay, so this is a lot. It is 0.19 acres, according to assessor's information. Functionally, this is essentially the same as the lot we purchased in 20, which is down the street. The difference, when this property was purchased, the thought was that actually because of the structural integrity of the house that was there, that it could be renovated. Client went and looked at it, agreed to pay $107 for it. It was land plus basically a structural allocation, was how they wound up agreeing to the purchase price.
And what?
After it was
whoa. Let me have
reviewed-
what is the date of the purchase?
I'm sorry, December of 2022.
Okay.
And it was a arm's length third party transaction.
Okay, why are we down to $70,000?
That's what I was getting to. So
Okay.
when the structure was looked at, it was determined that to try to rebuild it with inside made no sense. So the decision was to demolish it. So now we are down to purely just a lot. There is nothing on this property other than the lot. I had no lot values to go on to figure out what would be the difference. So I used the lot we purchased because that was known at the time that it really was just a lot purchase, that was going to have to be demolished. So I don't have a good thing a good item to go on. And so I use that as a basis of saying, look, this is the closest thing we have in 4 years is this transaction next door. There are no other lot transactions that I can find that are similarly situated to this. And again, this is off lake as well.
And what did you pay for the property with the structure?
107.
Any questions for it?
No. I do for the assessor.
Okay, we're gonna hear from the assessor, then you'll get the final word, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we were able to pull vacant land sales. Vacant land sales is common for us to go back a little further because there are less of them. So we went from 21 to 23. We have a spread of 542,406 an acre to 1,545,812 an acre, with a median of 1,102,974 an acre. So that well supports his value right now.
1 million.
20th.
The median is 1,102,974 an acre.
It's about a fifth of that.
Times 0.19.
So that gets him to the 151 figure, 151,846. It actually supports more than that.
How close by were your acreages?
That is a good question. I do not have that data here.
They are all in Lake Hiawassee though.
But I
Lake
think,
Hiawassee.
Yeah,
yes.
they're all right there.
Yeah, they are in the same, all in the same neighborhood of Lake Hiawassee. Yeah.
Some may be lakefront though, east side, west side, where there are differentials and.
Yes.
Okay.
But we did try to keep it as close as possible with the land size.
I think they are all within a mile.
So I don't see that documentation provided on the land. Right.
Should be the last one.
I know it was in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
the second one. It's flipped. Second page.
In the 014 package, right? Yeah, I see it in the package.
Should have been, because that's straight from our.
And whatever they have it built.
This one should already be in there. This was already.
So you're saying you send me what?
What they have from what they have. with
Oh,
their
so they didn't
bill.
provide it.
So, yeah, that's whatever
Oh.
they've sent is what
So you don't receive anything from the assessor's office to provide to us?
whatever they have for their informal.
Yeah, this was on the informal.
Yeah, this is on the phone.
This
It's
wasn't
just not in there.
sent with that.
It should. It's right there.
Right?
I don't have
Do
it.
you see it, Brent?
No, I don't have it. I just have 4 pages
Whatever it was on.
or 5 pages.
Yeah, what they provide as well.
Oh, look on the previous account. If I
Well, it
look,
does look familiar. I think maybe I did see it on the other
I
one.
think it got put with the other one. I remember that now.
Let's see if I can
Okay.
see it.
From the taxpayer. I think they got put with that one.
Because I was wondering what that was.
Yep.
Yep. That's it.
It is with that one. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Are we okay to access that guy?
Yes.
Something wrong, okay.
Okay, Mr. Craven, you get the last word.
Yes, ma'am. There are huge discrepancies here. I did not receive any comps from the assessor's office after the appeal for the land. I did on the previous application. But it is absolutely critical that the only comparisons that be used are off lakefront properties on the west side of Lake Hiawassee. The east side of Lake Hiawassee is a totally different type of home in terms of its caliber and its scale and the prices that transact there.
Okay,
On
did
the
you,
west side,
Go ahead.
obviously your land values are going to be higher along the lakefront. There are other factors there too, whether a lot has a dock, things of that nature. This property does not. So it's very difficult to try to find a true comparison to this lot sale, which is why when I made my appeal, I just said all I can find that looks anything like what we really have here is what was bought down the street by the same buyer, paid 3-4 years prior. That's the closest thing I could find. So
okay, did you hear them say that they treated this as a land-only purchase, and therefore they went for what does only land sell for, and came up with the spread of $500,000 to $1 million per acre, and then made the adjustment? I'm still calling it 0.50, a fifth of an acre. It's not 0.20, but 0.19. So they did not, they think they've made a comparison of apples to apples, vacant land to vacant land. Do you reject that?
yes, ma'am. No, I mean, what I would say to that is this property was purchased for $107,000, what would have been effectively less than 2 years ago. I don't see how it could have possibly appreciated in a 2-year time frame by more than double, which was the original value. And then after the appeal, it was adjusted down, still $50,000 difference based on 2 years. So I don't know exactly if you guys have an aerial or what you can see there, this lot versus what may have been paid. But again, very difficult to use a lot of those, because if they are larger lots, which allow larger homes, or they're lakefront, of course their values are going to be significantly higher. This is nowhere near anything like that.
But that's not what they did. They accepted the fact that it was a land-only sale and compared it to other land-only sales. But you're saying you want to confine them to that neighborhood. That is not what they did. They took raw land purchase and prorated it for the size of this lot. That's what I was asking you. Do you reject the validity of this or the appropriateness of what they did?
I mean, I reject that they would use, he would have to tell me, again, I never got any comps, so I never got to see what he used, but he would have to show me what vacant, because I don't see them. I mean, I searched all the transactions I could find in public record, and I don't see a pure land transaction where there isn't other factors at play. Like, again, a lot being sold with a dock, which is very valuable, things like that.
Would you agree with me that if that had been what they did, the value would have been higher? Obviously, if they had done what you're suggesting, the value would be higher, in my opinion, unless I'm wrong. I mean, I'll be corrected. If you want them to do apples to apples, and your apple is lake property with docks or close to property that has a dock.
No, man, what I'm saying is they're taking a spread and getting land values. Again, comps I didn't see, but that they are taking those and imputing that value to something that is not lakefront. It does not have a dock. It is on a tiny parcel of land, which would limit the size of the structure you can put there because it inhibits valuation. You have a lot of limitation on a lot this small because Lake Hiawassee is not served by utilities. I mean, it is that 1,000 square feet you saw get built down the street on the same size property is the maximum structure you could put there because of the septic requirement.
Okay,
It's very unique, but I do not think that it is appropriate to take a piece of land that was transacted by two arm's length parties in December of 22 and say, which included a structure, mind you, and say, well, then the fair market value of this land must be, 200,000, or in the adjusted value case, 151,000. It still just seems high to me.
and this is off lake as well, right? This lot?
This is off lake. It is not on the water.
Okay, one final thing, there seems to be some nodding of disagreement as to what you were or were not given, so I'll let the assessor have that.
Oh, please do. Please do.
So I did provide the comps because they sent it to you and you had it in a different,
This document.
yeah. It was with the other one.
It's just in the wrong package.
Yeah, but so they did get it because I had to email it because they didn't get it in the mail.
Okay.
So what we were finding is, since the argument was a non-lakefront, one of the sales in 2021 was purchased for $170,000, a non-lakefront land-only sale, which is one of the comps. So in 2021, 3 years ago, it was still being sold for $170,000.
So what was that lot size?
Same square footage, same lot size, I should say.
0.1779.
Yes. Still sold for that much
In 2021.
in 2021.
Just so you guys know, for the assessor's benefit, I did see at the bottom of I'm sorry, it was attached to the 39 application sales comparable sheet. There's a list of lots
Right.
below there. He did provide me, so to be fair to him, that's true.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, we're gonna close this out, Mr. Cravens, and once again, we'll make our decision on Wednesday, and it'll be sent to you by mail.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you all for your time.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Just, is Carla Bob's by phone? Do you all care if we go out of order? Because they've been sitting here the whole time. Can we take BOE 16? Does anybody object to that?
I don't object to it.
Do you?
No.
Okay, we're gonna open up BOE number 16. Joshua Benefield. I've been patiently waiting. Okay, this is 14315 Southeast 37th Place, Choctaw. And your number is R213761100. So tell us what you want us to know.
Basically, first want to start with thank you for taking my
Oh, sure.
my appeal. So, listening to kind of everything that's gone on here, I understand it. Ultimately it's your decision. So, and I will respect whatever decision it is. The value that we currently are assessed at, 674, is in comparison to what our appraisal was when we closed on the construction of our house, is quite a bit higher, 16% higher than where we closed. And we have an appraisal dated March of 2022, and that was provided March 2022.
This is a new build?
This is a new build. Yes.
What year?
We closed and moved in April of 2022.
Okay.
And we bought the land in 2021 for $70,000. We built under a construction loan, of course, to construct the house. We had to pay off the land loan first. So the all-in appraisal of 580 should be inclusive of land. Kind of from talking when they did the appraisal, and I know I can't dispute last year. Really, I should have been in the seat last year because that's the number that really is driving all this. And that number, it was appraised last year at 687, which you can imagine my surprise, frustration with myself when I missed the window to appeal because it was over $100,000 higher than what our house had been appraised for. With that, I know during my informal, the data was provided. I think we live in a time where coming down with a hard number is difficult. COVID really screwed everything up. So, it may come that there is no adjustment, but the number that I'm coming up with is about 615. And the method that I used to come up with that is I did a 3% increase of the 580. Last year's number should have been closer, if you account for a 3%, would have been about 597. And then a 3% again this year would give you about 315, 322. If you use the increase that you guys used over last year, which was a 1.4%, that actually takes down the new value to 603, 633.
Which you could live with? Oh, obviously, because you're asking for 615.
Yeah. As low as 603 would be great, but again, I know if the ship is passed, then
How are you coming up with 3% a year?
Well, I mean, I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of standard increase over a year from
That's the
original
taxes.
value.
That's taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's taxes. That's
Okay.
the most your tax can increase if you're.
Okay. Well, and again, this is, I know you guys have better metrics for this, but it's a 16% increase, so I don't know what the 2-year increase is.
2 years, 23.357
Okay.
average in the county.
Okay. Does it change by region or?
That's the county average. I'll just say, like if you were doing north of Memorial, I know that's kind of my area, and I know it could have increased more, but I always just look at the average.
Right.
Oklahoma City area, it could have been less than that. Choctaw New Growth may be average. I don't know.
Yeah.
Same thing with Yukon or something. It's just we don't know, so that's why we look at the comps.
Right. And I mean, to that note, again, they did their homework. I think they even used some comps that that my original appraiser used. If you're looking at data collectively, if you go with the most recent sale, it actually has a lower price per square foot than all of the ones before that. So it might be an indicator that the market has decreased. Again, it's
Was
not
it a 23 sale or a 24?
there's a November 23 sale, adjusted price of 189 square foot.
Similar to in size to yours.
It is. I'm sorry, I should have.
That's all right.
Living area is 3167, which one's 3162.
Okay. Which one you guys did this one? Okay. We're ready.
Okay. So yeah, this was a valid arm's length transaction purchase in 22 for 70 grand for the land. Last year we had the value at 687,500.
Yes.
This year we have it at 674,000. The comps. I do want to give you the cross streets we're looking at. He's off of this little area right here, off of Southeast 37th Place, off of Henny and Choctaw.
29th Street.
Well, actually, Henny. Yeah, sorry. Southeast, between Southeast 44th and Southeast 29th, between Henny and Choctaw. And this is his neighborhood right here, all on 37th Place. Subject property is right here. And our median comps, we're using 3 23 sales and a 22 sale. And we support a value of 690,600. Now, I did look at the comps that Mr. Benefield did provide, and I just wanted to entertain the fact that some are in his neighborhood, and then he used 2 of them that were outside the neighborhood. And I went ahead and removed some of the adjustments because on the original adjustments we had, we were adjusting for some have pools, and since he's using 2 comps that are outside his neighborhood, we also have a neighborhood adjustment. If I remove the pool and neighborhood adjustments, I get a value of $702,882. So, and like I said, he's using a comp that's, one of them is in, I believe is in Asheville. It's in 3101 Ashton Cove Circle. And the other one is located in, the other one is 4901 Cinder Circle. So, but no, our comps support the current value.
And you're saying using his, it would be higher?
Yes.
Okay. And you, I'm gonna say mistakenly, are using the 3% increase, which is for taxes.
Okay.
It capped, although I will tell you that Oklahoma County is one of the few counties that's doing what they're supposed to do on valuation increases on taxes. Okay.
Okay.
Do you dispute what they just said? No. Okay. Is that all, Mike?
Yes, ma'am, that's it. That's
You
it.
get
So the lowering in valuation, Mike, pardon me, is just based on comps? That's why it went down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, based on sales that took place in that area. And I do want to specify, I didn't mention this, the price per square foot based on the 2024 value is $213.16.
Can I ask a question, because there were no comps provided in the package, and am I allowed to go to the county assessor's website and pull the comps that are listed there then, or if the comps are not provided in the package?
Those would be different than what we provide. The one that's on our website is actually not what we are doing. It's something else. So we'll send them to Keisha, so that gets taken care of. Because last year that's how we did it. We actually sent our stuff and not waited on the taxpayer to provide it. So that's.
If
I
you
think
could,
that's-
yeah, because it's difficult for us to follow
Yeah.
these comps that you're listing when we don't have them in
Yeah.
front of us.
No, I didn't even know that was happening. So we'll take care of that.
Okay. All right.
But he, I should say he, so Mr. Benefield got the benefit of your comps you knew what their comps were?
We discussed them over the phone.
Okay.
Nothing further by me.
Well, again, I think part of this stems from seeing the 687 last year as my assessed value. I don't know if it would have been it would have been a better case to bring this last year. So I again recognize and appreciate the time that you guys have given me today.
Okay, did you hear him inform that if your value goes down, you will not get a notice?
Yes.
Most people don't know that. Okay, we're gonna close BOE number 16 and go back to BOE number 15 by phone.
Thank you, sir.
You're quite welcome. You'll hear from us in a couple of days by mail.
Yeah, I just, whatever they give me is.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please.
Oh, it's not the same one, is it?
No, he actually came today.
That was the first guy, right? Second guy.
Hopefully this morning.
Please leave your message
Wonder
for
if he thinks I forgot
9.
about him. Or she
I
thinks.
spoke to her this morning just to double check.
So did they think that they were gonna hear from us at 9:30?
No.
Please leave your message for 918.
Do we have a second number?
No, that's the only one I have for her.
You want to leave a message and give them 2 minutes to call them. Well, they're not really never going to call us on, is there?
No, it's a direct to the county clerk's office.
Is that a cell phone number? Do we know?
It's a 918. I don't know if it's cell phone or land.
Oh, there we go. Oh, no.
Hello?
Oh, there we go. Yes, is this Ms. Boggs?
Yes, it is.
All right, this is the Board of Equalization calling about your hearing today on your property. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let me just for the record say this is BOE number 15 and your official resident number is R210011 Is your correct address on this house 10301 Chitwood Farms Road?
In Jones, yes.
Oh, it's Jones, okay.
It's Jones mailbox.
All right, and I understand that you would like to have your property valued at 900,000, but the assessor has it valued at 1,097,000. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, tell us what you'd like for us to know.
Well, the appraiser, or I guess the assessor's appraiser, I looked at his comps, and most of his comps, like all of his comps, are for 4-bedroom homes, not 3-bedroom. Ours is only a 3. Ours is older than most of his comps. And I noticed in his comparable information a difference in the square footage between what he shows and what the listings on those homes show. They're all bigger. But our house is kind of, I'm going to say, one of the older looking homes. We're not a modern farm. We're not all the new stuff. And we have kind of, everyone would think that, oh, well, you're on the lake, so that's worth a fortune. Half of our property is covered in water. So we don't have the ability to do anything with that property. So our actual usable space is 0.76 acres, not an acre and a half. I don't think he gave enough consideration to that fact. I don't know, maybe he didn't know. I don't know. One thing he did mention when I talked to him in the informal conversation, he said, well, your property is listed as multi-parcel or multi-property. And I said, well, I think probably what happened is they realized that this lot wasn't wide enough to get a house on and a driveway because it sits at the end of a cul-de-sac and it's real narrow down here. So they had to take some property out of lot 9 and add it to lot 8. Why they didn't change lot 8 and make it include that rather than showing it the way they do, and I don't know how you do that. So I asked the assessor's office to stop with the 2 accounts and put it all under one. But he said, well, that's one of the problems. But there was another piece of property on East Memorial Road that was very similar in age and sold in June. We bought in May 30th in 2023, and this one sold for $845,000. It had a pond on it, so it had water. Our property, the way it's situated, it goes straight down to the lake, and you can't do anything. The only side yard you could do anything with is where the septic tank is, so you can't do anything with it either. But I just didn't feel that he gave enough offset, and his comparables were too new. Most of them were all the new homes up in, I don't know, I think they call that the Ridge at Chitwood, and that's where all the new stuff is, Parade homes and everything else. We're in that north end that's the older end of Chitwood Farms. What else you want me to say?
Well, let me ask, is this residential number that ends in 1190, is it only the property that the house is sitting on? It's not a combination of the whole of the cul-de-sac, right?
The other one, the 1190 is where the house is, and then they have another one, R21, /11200. It was a little sliver of ground that they had to add to this property in order to make it buildable. It's kind of a raised ridge, I guess I'll call it.
But you get a separate tax, you get a separate appraisal?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is
Yeah,
just the one, okay.
I didn't realize that because I'm new, and when I wasn't even getting a tax bill, I started calling the assessor's office, and they said, "Oh, well, the reason you didn't is because the title company made a mistake and forgot to attach the legal description." So I got busy on that. I said, "Well, let me pay the taxes." Well, then lo and behold, here came another bill for $75. I said, "I have no idea what that's for." And they said, "Well, it's for that little strip of land next to it." I said, "Oh, they're totally separate. Can we add those together? Because there's no way you would ever separate them."
For purposes of a sale, yeah.
Why not? Yeah, why not make them one? Why not make them all lot 8 and be done with it? But I don't know how you do that.
Okay, let me, so your sale, so you're asking for your present valuation to be the same as your sale price in May of 23 of 900,000.
Right.
Okay. And do you understand that when they do the comps, if the houses are not identical, they make adjustments? So the fact that there's a 4-bedroom house doesn't mean it's not a good comp, right?
True. I do understand that. And I see where his percentage adjustments were. But like I say, his square footage of what those houses were, the square footage his show are smaller than what the listing showed.
Sure.
Which would make his price per square foot different because he's dividing it on a bigger house. So I just, that, and a big thing is the lot. Most of the homes have an acre or more. And because of the configuration of this lot and the way the developer and the way he laid it out, half of it is underwater, is under the Chitwood Lake.
But
We pay taxes on it.
Sure.
But half of it's underwater and unusable. And I don't think that the value of our land, since so much of it can't be used, I don't think it should be the same value as people that have an opportunity to use their full acre or acre and a quarter or whatever it might be. I think there should be a little more offset, and I didn't see him offset that.
Okay.
In fact, he didn't offset it at all for that problem.
Okay. Okay, so we'll hear from the assessor, then we'll give you the last word, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Do I hold on the line?
Oh, yeah, you get to hear the whole thing. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I do have some potential good news from Ms. Boggs here in a moment. So it was an invalid sale because it involved a multi-parcel sale. The property that has the house on it and the property directly next to it. So anytime it's a multi-parcel sale, whether it's 2 properties or more, we have to deem it invalid. And for future reference, Ms. Boggs, if you want to have those properties combined, you would need to contact the county clerk to get those combined. But I do want to, so it was a May of 23 purchase of $900,000.
For both of them?
For both of them, yes.
Okay.
It's with the vacant parcel, yes. So, the current vacant land parcel, I know that's not talked about, but I just want to throw that in there. It is being valued at $36,034. We currently have the value at $1,097,000.
Right.
The owner did provide some comps, and I did look at all those comps, and the comps that she provided, we used those in our analysis to deny her initially. Now, when I say initially, I agree that the comps weren't necessarily, good, so I went ahead and reran my own comps because Sherwood Farm is kind of a unique neighborhood where you got some square footage that are just going to be all over the place. I went ahead and we are taking into consideration for her property that we are accounting for the drainage, the lakefront, and the topography being underwater. So those are all accounted for when her value is being considered. So I wanted to entertain the fact that her property is unique, yes, because I went ahead and removed the pool, the lake, the subdivision, and some of the qualities, because some of the qualities on the houses are much greater than hers. We have her on a good
Neighborhood pool, right?
A
That's what you're talking
pool?
about.
No, sorry, no.
What did you say?
Certain properties in the comparables have pools.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Sorry for the misunderstanding. Typically, when you get to a very good quality and an excellent quality, the values are much greater. And she's on at a good quality, which is one step below very good. And I used all good quality comps. And I can support a value to be lowered at $980,700. Because I do agree that the comps that we initially provided, and I'm looking at the analysis, the square footages are all over the place. I do want to point out, though, that the comps that I am using are all smaller than hers, because she's at 4381. I do want to make reference to 2001 Windridge Court. We have at 3,785 square feet, and it sold for $988,000.
You pull those up.
I don't have that. This is something I did after.
Something you did after.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you notice on the listing that they showed that house at 4,010 square feet? I don't know why the difference is, but I noticed that when I started trying to check your comps and say, well, okay, where are the differences here? So I don't know why the 300 plus square feet difference is.
When you say listing, that means you looked at Redfin or Zillow?
Yeah, or Realtor.com. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I went to see, okay, I need to look at his comps to see how they differ, because I know all the houses down in the ridge. I mean, they're all big, beautiful, wonderful homes. And I thought, well, okay, a bunch of those are new, but gee, let me go look at some of these others. And I felt that Windridge, his first comp, was closer, more similar to our house, the older brick and rock style, and it's just the era, the time frame. But I noticed the square footage. On comp 2, the listing showed the square footage at 5,111 feet. His information showed 4,535 square feet. Comp 3 checked out. Comp 4 was about 100 square feet difference. He showed 4,104. Listing showed 4,202. On comp 5, he showed 3,936, and the listing showed 4,135 square feet. And on comp 6, he showed 3,697, and the listing shows 4,250. I don't know why. When he mentioned that they were all smaller, well, not very much.
Miss
Anyway.
Boggs, sorry. The comps that you are looking at were the original comps that were used to deny your value. I looked at each one of those comps, not their listing, but I looked at the initial comps that were provided to help deny your value. I went ahead and disregarded those because I thought some of the adjustments on them were too, chaotic. Because with your property, you're unique because you're situated on the lake, and those adjustments were out of whack with some of these other properties I was using. That's why I'm removing some of the adjustments, and I'm using all homes in Chitwood Farms that are the same quality. The only thing that you're having to worry about is that you're a much bigger house square footage wise, and the information we have, the square footages are smaller, but I do have two homes, like I said, the Windridge Court, we do show the square footage at 3785. I don't know what the listing says, but, and then I do show 1901, I show 1901 Brookbank Drive being at 3,588 square feet, and that sold for 1.1 million. So I'm using those plus 4 other properties that I'm using, I'm using 220, I'm using
Yes.
223 sales.
Okay.
Yeah, using 223 sales and 422 sales. Now, this information wasn't provided. This is something that I did prior to coming in here.
Did you see the comp? She mentioned a comp, I'm curious if she provided that sold in 2023 for 845. Obviously, that's not an adjusted value, but was that one of the comps that she provided to you, or one that you happen to consider?
That one was at 9601 East Memorial Road.
That would have been way out of the neighborhood.
That's way out of the neighborhood, so I
it
couldn't use
wouldn't be
that.
valuable.
No,
Okay, wouldn't be
I didn't use that one.
Right.
But no,
Okay.
I do agree that the initial value that we had denied her at was a little high. I thought in this case, with she's on the lake, I'm going to use comparables. I'm going to throw out the lake and throw out some of the other adjustments because Chipwood is such a diverse neighborhood. It's almost kind of like getting into Nichols Hills.
And in quality, you're saying her home is.
Good.
We have it as a good quality, and I'm using the other 6 comps I provided as good.
So we don't have these revised comps, right?
No.
Yeah, Miss Boggs, in all honesty, I have to tell you that I was actually in that house prior to you purchasing it this spring. Very nice quality, exceptional quality. I understand your backyard situation. It drops off. You have 15 feet back there before it hits the lake. And then your upstairs is just one large room. You have your 3 bedrooms downstairs. One of them is sort of a mother-in-law plan. I understand it's a very exceptional house, and I think we'll try to make it as fair as we can.
Okay, I appreciate that. So, do you decide now?
No, we will need,
I've never been to this point before, so
Sure.
I'm not sure what I do.
no, our decision day is Wednesday. We will meet Wednesday, and then we will notify you of our evaluation by mail. So Thursday or Friday, you'll get a letter from us.
Okay. Okay.
But we appreciate you.
I appreciate you listening. I appreciate your time. And Mr. Appraiser, I appreciate you looking at some other comps. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice day. Okay, so
Thank
we're,
you. You do the same.
all right. So we'll close the hearing on BOE number 15. Do we have any remarks from the public? We're happy to see that the maybe supervisor showed up today.
Figured I had to defend myself down here.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna meet Wednesday. First, we have an exercise meeting at 9 o'clock. Then we'll have this. All right. Want to entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Didn't want to dominate that like I did last week.
That's
so.
okay. No, I was happy for you to do it.